Hello there, I'm Matteo, the Chief Mobile Opinionist here at the Tech Travel Geeks, and this is our iPhone 12 setup video, where we're going to go through the setup experience for the iPhone 12. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Tech Travel Geeks here on YouTube. You'll see, for example, our unboxing of the iPhone 12 and our subsequent videos where we're going to be making comparisons between the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 11, as well as other devices in similar price categories and market segments, such as the Huawei P40 and the Google Pixel 5. Okay then, so we've unboxed our iPhone 12. Now it's a question of finding out where the SIM card goes, and that's pretty simple. It's on the left-hand side of the device if you're looking at the screen. Now I'm going to use the Apple SIM ejector tool, which is pretty much a glorified paperclip. We'll put a link to being able to purchase a few hundred paper clips on Amazon for the price of one Apple SIM ejector tool in the description to this video. But as I have just put my SIM card in, the phone's turned on because I had accidentally pressed the power button. So it starts off by saying hello, hola, hello. It doesn't say donde está la discoteca, but nothing new there. So here we have a selection screen where we choose our language, and I'm going to go with English, and United Kingdom is already selected. And from the indicator to the right of the notch, we can already see that my 3 SIM card has picked up 4G already. So it suggests going from an existing iPhone or iPad to the new iPhone, but I'm going to set this one up manually. I really do quite enjoy the setup process. It's part of the whole thing, if you're not in a rush to do it, is to enjoy the user experience and maybe experience it for the first time on a particular version of iOS. So I'm going to connect to my Planet Express network. So we're now connected to the Wi-Fi network, and it says that it may take a few minutes to activate your iPhone, which is a bit disappointing. Okay, so data and privacy. This icon appears when an Apple feature asks to use your personal information. You won't see this in every feature since Apple collects this information only when needed to enable features, secure our services, or personalize your experience. Blah blah blah, continue. Face ID, so I'm going to set up my Face ID on this device, and we're going to continue. So how to set up your Face ID: first position your face in the camera frame, then you move your head in a circle to show all the angles of your face. So I'm going to do this live on our YouTube video. Let's see how it works. So Face ID, first Face ID scan complete. Continue. Move your head slowly to complete the circle. Second Face ID scan complete. It's now set up. Great. So I'm going to set a passcode. It's definitely 1234. So apps and data. Restore from iCloud backup, restore from Mac or PC. Don't transfer apps and data. I really want to go through the setup as a new device. And now I'm going to enter my Apple ID. So this is two-factor authentication. I'm now getting a notification on my iPhone 11 asking for access, and I'm going to have to put in this one-time code, which by the time this video is published will be no longer valid because I've used it. And there we go. So I agree to the terms and conditions. At this point, I've spent so much money on this iPhone that it would be silly of me not to. And again, it's saying that it may take a few minutes to set up your Apple ID. So express settings for Siri and Maps. Okay then, let's go with that. Keep your iPhone up to date. Get latest features, security, and improvements by updating iOS automatically. I agree. I use Google Pay on my Google Pixel 5. I don't have a need to set up Apple Pay, so the only option is to set it up later. And iCloud Keychain keeps passwords and credit card information safe. Okay then, let's go with that. Improve Syrian dictation. Do we want to share our audio recordings with Apple? Most likely they'll have a human at the other end making sure that things work out. Yeah, sure. Screen time. A weekly report of insights of how often and how much I use my iPhone. Great. iPhone analytics. Do we want to share this information with Apple? Sure. I must be quite a disappointing app analytics and Apple analytics person because of how relatively little I use my iPhone. So sure, let's share analytics with app developers if that helps them improve their iOS apps. I'm all on with that. True Tone display. iPhone automatically adapts to ambient lighting conditions to make colours appear consistent in different environments. I think that's a good idea, so we can change that later. And because this is a new AMOLED screen iPhone, so this is the new iPhone 12, I'm going to go with a dark theme. Because on AMOLED screens, if you have a black pixel, it's not on at all, and that should, in the long run, save you in terms of battery life. So display zoom, I'm going to go with standard. And that should be us done. Welcome to iPhone. Notice Apple's strong language here. They're not using prepositions. iPhone is a proper noun in this context. Let's swipe up to get started and see what happens. So here we are, iPhone 12. It is running iOS 14, which means that you have all the wonderful widgets and features that iOS 14 brings with you, that we've already seen on the iPhone 11, but it seems to be pretty much the same here, no big difference. And first thing I notice is that I have a notification for settings. Finish setting up your iPhone. Get the most out of your iPhone with features like Apple ID, Siri, Face ID, and Apple Pay. No thanks, I'm not interested in setting up Apple Pay at this moment. But first impressions are that the new Apple A14 chipset, that 5nm process chip that powers the iPhone 12, seems to be fast and responsive. The user interface is pretty fast and responsive, despite this being just a 60Hz display. Right then, so first things first, I'm going to have to go and load my most frequently used apps. So first thing I'm going to search for, which is what I use the most, okay then, will be Google. Now Google have a suite of very cool apps for iOS. So the first one is an ad for Google Chrome, but you'll see the first actual result if you search for Google is Google itself, the search functionality. I am also going to install Google Chrome, not for the ad, because I don't want Apple to get money for something that I've just searched for. Google Drive, something I use very frequently. This video, for example, is going to be uploaded to Google Drive from my camera so that our Chief Aperture Officer, Lukasz, can edit the video and then upload to YouTube. Google Photos, this is the great way to avoid having limitations to your storage on the iPhone. I use this and regularly clear out photos and videos from my iPhone through Google Photos, so that's great. Google Translate, great when you're traveling. I arguably might be able to make use of this when visiting Glasgow. YouTube, definitely one that I use quite a lot on my iPhone for catching up on videos. Google Maps, a must. Google Assistant. Now this is in part baked into Google Search, but it does work better with things that I have at home. Both in terms of home automation with light bulbs, but just in general, for search, the Google Assistant and its features are something I'm deeply embedded in. Gmail, with its new Gmail icon, definitely something I use. Google Docs is again another app I use frequently, both in personal life and for work. Google Home for all my home automation, my speakers and so forth. Google Calendar, that's the calendar service I use. And whilst I'm at it, I might as well get the rest of the Google G Suite apps, including Google Tasks. Google Earth is great for just daydreaming whilst I'm sitting on the sofa in a certain tier of lockdown, wishing I could be traveling more. Google Meet is the video calling service that I find myself using more and more. And as you can see, this is the new Face Unlock or Face ID confirmation of installation of new apps. In this case, I installed Google Meet by double tapping on the power button when prompted, and then it did Face ID to confirm that that's something I wanted to. Google Keep for my tasks and note-taking is another app I use a lot. So essentially, I've gone for as many of the Google apps, including Google Duo, as possible. So I haven't installed this previously on my iPhone. I'll install that as well. And Gboard is my preferred keyboard on iOS, so yes, I've just Googled up my iPhone 12. And, opinion rewards as well. This is something that you get £2 every so many surveys you do. That's really quite cool way. YouTube Music, that's my preferred music service. Previously it was Google Play Music, but now I'm all in on YouTube Music. Google Play Music is still available as a download, but I do not use that at this moment in time. Google Chat. So this is for G Suite, such as the service that we use at Tech Travel Geeks. It's the equivalent of, say, Slack or other instant messaging services. Google Wi-Fi as well. I actually don't need this. It's not a third-party one. It's for when you have a mesh network of Wi-Fi at home. That's useful for that. And I don't use Google Podcasts, I use Pocket Casts, that's my preferred app. So let's go and search for that and install it on this iPhone 12. Pocket Cast. So this is my podcast client of choice, which synchronizes across web, Android, and iOS. And I just prefer the user interface and the functionality of it. It's how I listen to podcasts, even on my iPhone. So now we've done that, let's go for the other two big tech companies that I use apps of most often. So in this case, we're going to go with Amazon. So I use Amazon Prime Video, Amazon Music, A-Word, and Fire TV. And also
access to tens of thousands of channels, apps, and Alexa skills. Fire TV brings all the live TV and streaming content you love off of your laptop and onto the big screen. Easily find what to watch next with recommendations based on your viewing habits.
As you can hear, I've triggered the A word.
Get even more suggestions from over 200 channels and apps.
As you can hear, I triggered the A word there, but that's definitely not something I was intending to do. And let's go to the other big tech company I use most of their apps from. So I'm going to have to install Facebook, Messenger, with a shiny new gradient-like app, Instagram, who've had a gradient-type app for a while. It's interesting that it's giving me the option to go for Tinder. I'm not interested in that, but Twitter is a suggested app that shall install. Naughty Dating. What does Apple think that Facebook search? Why is this relevant? Oh well. Also, if you, in the Google Play Store, if you search for Tinder, you will most likely get apps about lumber calculators. So depending on the amount of wood you have, the amount of weight it has. But Timber and Tinder have one thing in common. It's for people with wood. LinkedIn. Nah. Reddit? Yes. Skype for iPhone? Probably not. I do use Skype, such as my recent appearance on the Mobile Tech podcast hosted by Miriam Jouar. So thanks to Miriam for having us on as guests on that podcast. But I don't need to have Skype on my phone. Now, as you can see, iOS 14 seems to be quite responsive. In this case, it's connected to a fast Wi-Fi connection. It's been pretty fast there as well. And all the apps have been installed. Now, what I'm going to do here is reorganize things. I don't use Safari really, so I'm going to remove Safari. I do use the text messaging. I am going to pop my messaging apps into a folder, if I can get this up. There we go. So I'm going to put my messaging apps into a folder here, and then put that next to my phone. And I'll do the same with my social networks. In this case, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Reddit, and the blue one, Facebook. Pop that in there. I don't know why it thinks this is news, but in this case it is social networks. I'm going to pop that down there. And next we will pop YouTube Music. Is there space in the dock? No. Okay, so we'll put that on the front screen along with Amazon Music. And more importantly, Pocket Casts. And I've forgotten one key app that's part of my basic setup. In this case, it's going to be Audible, my subscription service for audiobooks. So interesting, I get an ad for that. That would be naturally where you'd click first. But this is a way for Apple to monetize the App Store. So I'll go for Audible, not the ad. It's exactly the same as a user what happens. But yes, I get my app installed, and what I'll do is I'll just drag that along. So I have my audio content, Audible, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music all in a row. So this is all the key apps I use. This is a quick setup of the iPhone 12. Obviously, we've extended this video a little. We'll see what the metrics are like. If you enjoyed this, do let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, give us a like as well. But for now, thanks for watching the quick setup video for the iPhone 12. As I probably mentioned at the beginning of this video, it was so long ago I don't even remember. We'll be following this video up with some accessory setups for the iPhone 12, as well as some comparison videos between the iPhone 12 and similarly priced or similarly categorized smartphones from competitors such as Google with the Google Pixel 5 and the Huawei P40. So if you don't already, please do subscribe to the Tech Travel Geeks, where you will see this on YouTube. And for now, thanks for watching and goodbye.